Give me a minute or two. Let me just send out this. Thanks. Good. I think we should be ready. Let me quickly have a look at what we have here. Can you guys hear me? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Good. So we do have with us today our usual Hamida, who has been helping you guys for the past year or two now. Also, we do have Samira. She's also been of immense help to you guys, those in the past year. And Elsie just joined, and I'm happy she's also taking over and trying to help you guys apply for your student visa in the US. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm not really familiar with the US system because of course I'm a Canadian, and I wouldn't be in the position to really say what's expected of us when we go to the US embassy and to apply for our respective visas. So Hamida, Elsie, and Samira will walk us through the process. Before that, those applying to the Canadian schools, this is very important. And also those applying to the US school, it's also, applies to you. Whenever you apply to a North American school, for instance, if you apply to a Canadian school, it's always important that you get a US visa in your passport. For one, it will help you attend the conferences. So if, for instance, you're in Canada and there's an upcoming conference in US, the fact that you have the US visa, it can really help you to just, cross the border and then attend the seminar or the workshop or whatever you would like to do there. Secondly, it also, helps with your immigration process. So for instance, if you are in Canada and there is some lapse and there's a need for you to leave the country and come back, getting the US visa is very, very important. You can just use a US visa, go visit US temporarily and come back to Canada or vice versa. Thirdly, if you are in Canada, I know, get a much cheaper flight to Ghana. Sometimes most of the flights do transits through US. And if you don't have a US visa, it will be very difficult for you to get those cheaper flights. So getting the US visa will really help you. So everything that I mentioned so far applies to US, students as well. So if you're in the US, it's always imperative that you get the visa in your passport. And at the end of the day, that will make your life much, much easier. So today's discussion shouldn't be seen as visa application for the US students only. Everyone should consume whatever you guys will much better. So without much ado, let me quickly, who is on speaker? Sorry, guys. Let me try and mute.
It's this and then that. Okay. I'll also get.
Okay, so without much ado, I'll leave the floor to our panelists. We do have Elsie, we do have Hamida, and we do have, as I mentioned earlier, Samira. Who would like to go first? Should it be Hamida, Samira, or Elsie? You guys can decide amongst yourselves. Hamida, Samira, Elsie?
Samira, you want to go or you want me to go? Elsie, what do you think?
Hamida, you can take the lead.
No problem.
Okay, so
You can.
Um, I prepared a little presentation and I don't know if I could share it with the audience.
Yes,
Is that
please.
okay?
Yeah, yes, please. I think I've given you the permission to share. Hopefully you can.
Okay.
Do you have access? If you don't, let me know.
Yeah, I think I do. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, please. It's on.
Um, okay. So good morning. My name is Hamida, and I just want to take you through the US visa application process. So I know at this point, most of us have received our admission offers. Some are from more than one schools, and we are still deciding what to do. At this point, I know most schools will demand a bank statement. That is for those who didn't get full funding. So in the US, I know the same thing applies to the schools in Canada. You get something like graduate assistantship. But one thing in the US is some graduate assistantships, which are often referred to as GA, they are fully funded. So that means you wouldn't be required to show any bank statements at the embassy. But some are partial. For instance, my scholarship in Ohio University was partial. So I was required to show a bank statement of the remaining deficits I had, about 17,000 US dollars. So I know students might be at this point like looking for bank statement, and I think the bank statement is the only way you could be able to get the I-20 from your admission office in the school, because you need to prove to the school that despite being offered admission, you'll be able to cover the remaining expenses coming with the whole graduate school thing. So I just want to mention that whilst looking for bank statement, it could be from your relatives, your family, your professors, your lecturers, but just beware of the fake bank statement people do have, because it has become an issue where people submitted fake statement and the embassy got to know. So beware of that. And as I said, too, some programs do not require bank statements. So in that case, after your admission, you just when you realize you have fully funded GA, you just email the program director. And I think the next step will be to get your I-20. So securing the I-20, the I-20 is mostly issued after you have successfully provided a valid bank statement, which is often, it has to be signed or stamped like from the bank. If the bank statement is coming from an individual, say my uncle, then that's it. He just has to sign, or there should be a bank stamp on it. But if it's from a company, like a business, then there should be a letter attached to the statement. The letter explaining the fact that the company is willing to support you through your graduate studies and the amount they are willing to support with. So you get your I-20 after you submitted your bank statement to the school. And be careful of your I-20, because the I-20 is going to be your only valid document here in the US. You are going to use it for so many things. Getting your driver's license, everything on the I-20 is so important. So watch out for some errors on your I-20 when you get them, like your date of birth, your name, the duration of your program, the program exactly, your majors, among others. Then after you secure your I-20, when you get your I-20, you could go ahead and then purchase the MRV. I'm not sure of this prices. I've just placed them there because it's been a long time I did mine. So you have to buy the MRV. And after buying the MRV, you have to work on your DS-160. And I always advise don't be in a rush to submit that form, because it's also very important. Like whatever you put on that document is going to be with you for your entire stay in the US. Those who have spouses, those who have dependents and they want to add them through, like this is the time you have to take and like fully look through, make people go through it with you before you finally submit it. And you start hunting for dates. So the MRV gives you access to the US date hunting website, the portal to hunt for dates for the interview. So some might choose to do their interviews in Ghana, some will do it in Ivory Coast, depending on where you get dates, because if there are more dates in Ivory Coast, people will choose to go there. And if not, people will also choose to do it in Ghana. Even though there is some difficulties getting dates in Ghana, there is always chances to apply for emergency visa. So if you go to the website now, probably the earliest date you're gonna get is 2025. But then you could get an emergency visa just by emailing the consulate and telling them that your program starts somewhere in 2024, and then the date you have now is somewhere in 2025. So you are asking if they could allow you to get an emergency visa interview or something. If it's successful, they are going to email back and then grant you the permission, and I'm sure you're going to be redirected to the emergency visa interview website, where you'll be able to get an early date to schedule for your interview, and then you go for your interview. So after you've gotten a date, the next step you have to do is to pay for your service fee. I think the service is the student exchange. I don't remember the full service meaning, but like you have to pay the service fee of $350. That is what I know in the past 2 years. I don't know if it has changed now. And I suggest you pay this after you've gotten a date. Don't be in a rush to pay for the service fee. Make sure you've gotten a date you are comfortable with, and then you pay. But I always advise that you pay 2 days before going for the interview, because you need to make the payment. And then I think it takes a day for it to reflect, and then you are able to get the receipt. And you need to have all this document with you at your interview. You need to have your transcript, your certificates, your bank statement, your admission offer, your GA, if you have any funding, your recommendations. Just have everything in the document. Your DS-160, you need to print them out. Yeah, and the service fee, the receipt of the service fee you paid. So once again, preparing for your interview, everyone is unique. So I don't expect you to sit and then have the answers someone gave at this interview as your own answers. Just look at how best you could explain yourself with certain questions you'll be asked, because some questions are personal, like tell me about yourself, what are your long-term and your short-term plans and everything. And you just have to be concise, because they are not going to listen to the whole paragraph you are stating. You have about 3 minutes to convince the consulate that yes, you are prepared for grad school, and then you need your visa approved. And finally, you just have to do more interview preps, because the more you practice, the more you get used to it. There's going to be anxiety here and there, and when you get to the place, but you just have to keep practicing. You have to learn more about your school and the program. What state is your school? Well, it's something about the school. How long is the program? Who is your program advisor, program director? Have you secured some supervisor? What's your research about? What would you be doing after that degree? What's your plan? Do you intend to come back to Ghana to work or something like that? Just as the third point is saying, you need to show some vision. Let them know you have long-term plans. Let them know you have short-term plans. You need to show some family ties to, you should always have the intention to come back, like give back to your society where you're coming from. And you have to be bold and confident. Even though, as I said, there's going to be some anxiety, you just have to be able to look straight and once again, you just have to be concise with your answers. So for instance, you might be asked a question like, how many schools do you apply to? Answer is 4. If he asks, or if you are asked to list them, you list them. They ask you, why did you choose maybe Ohio University? You could give an example like, I chose the school because it gives me the opportunity to specialize in my field, which is quantitative economics. Like some short answers, so that they'll be able to proceed further, because some of the answers you give, it gives the judges it gives the VO more opportunities to ask you questions. So just be concise the best you can. And I think that's all I have. I'm going to leave the platform for my colleagues Samira and Elsie to add some, and in case you have questions, I'm going to stop hanging here. to answer the questions.
Thank you very much, Hamida. I also have a PowerPoint presentation I would like to share. Okay. Yeah, so I think most of the things I have on my, can you see my screen? Okay, so most of the things I have here, Amida has basically touched based on most of the things in my slides. So just like go over them again, because I feel like the more you hear them, the more you understand. So for the application process, like on this slide, I'm just going to give us like a fair idea of what it looks like. So the first important thing is that you should secure your I-20. I feel like you
Please,
can
can you put your slide in a slide mode? It looks like it's very.
let me see, how can I do that? Is it good now?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you so much for letting me know. So I think the first thing you need to secure is your I-20, because without your I-20, you can't basically start anything. So the I-20 is very important. You have to reach out to your school international office, like if you haven't received this, to have them send it to you. So once you receive your I-20, you can go ahead with the application process. And I think another important thing to do is to explore your country's embassy website. I believe most of us here are from Ghana. So you can just basically type usembassy.gov or US Embassy Ghana and go through like the website, and you just basically what you do is to select the visa you're applying for, which is a non-immigrant visa for F1 international students. So they have different categories. You go through the requirements for what you're applying for. And then after you've gone through the website, you've gotten a fair idea of what it looks like, you can go ahead and begin to fill out your DS-160 form. The reason why I say you can go ahead and start to fill out your DS-160 form is because you would need your DS-160 application ID to go make that payment for your MRV. That would enable you to start searching for dates. So you can start the DS-160 form. You can start filling the DS-160 form, but you don't have to rush or complete it like immediately. So you just start the form, get that ID application number, and then you move on to make your MRV payments, because you need that ID application number. So you begin the DS-160 form. All you do is just search on Google, like fill DS-160 form online, and then you select your country of application, and then you take some security questions that would like allow you to go back on the form whenever you need to, and then you take note of your application ID and login information. So what I would recommend is that you get a note where you would like jot these things down so you don't forget, because your application ID is very, very important in order for you to like go back to the form. And this is what the application ID looks like. It always starts with the alphabet AA. So once again, I think Hamida mentioned this, do not rush to complete this form, DS-160 form. Take your time, because every information you put there it's going to basically be what the visa officer would be looking at. And ensure you fill this form by yourself. And if somebody is doing it for you, make sure you go through the form with them and know what they've put in there, because you don't want to go and stand in front of the visa officer and then they ask you something that they see on your DS-160 and you're giving like a contradicting answer because you didn't go through your DS-160 form or you didn't fill it out yourself. So take note of that. So some important documents you would need, as I mentioned, your Form I-20, you need your admission letter from your school, you need your proof of funds, which would be your bank statement. And Hamida made like very good emphasis on things to take note of with regards to the bank statement, and be mindful of fake bank statements. You need your service fee receipts, you need your completed DS-160 form, you need your appointment letter, your MRV fee payment receipt, your proof of employment. You don't like, not everybody needs all of this form here. It just depends on your situation. right? Some people might need proof of employment in order for them to like show that, in order for them to prove ties to homeland. People use this for like several reasons. Like, okay, so if you're sending a bank statement that has like a lot of money in it and you're saying that the bank statement is yours, so you might need a proof of employment to show that, oh, you work in this company and that is how come you're able to make this much amount of money. So you need an American size passport photograph. You need a valid passport, your transcripts from your previous educational institutions. You need loan approval letters. That is if say you didn't get the full funding, you're using an Empower loan, because some students go for the Empower loan. So you would need like the loan approval letter. And then moving from there, you might need your degree certificates. Like just take whatever you think you would need with you, because you don't want to go there and then they ask for something and you don't have it. So whatever documents you think that at the back of your mind would be very like would help you sell out your case, make sure you take that with you. But some of these documents are very staple, like you have to make sure you take them with you. But then you can have other additional documents that you think would be relevant to your interview. Um, so for scheduling appointments with the embassy, so once you get that um, DS-160 application ID, you go on the US Embassy Ghana websites to create an account with them. So for most first-time users, you have to create the account through the new user. But if you're returning applicant, you have to like go to the recover section. So like you go on there, you create an account, you use your surname and email address to create this account, and then that is where you start seeing the dates. You go ahead and pay your visa fee at GT Bank. I think when I was doing mine, it was around $160. I don't know if that's changed now. And yeah, so after you make that payment, they would give you at the bank, they would give you a visa fee payment reference code. So that is what you use to go back on that same account you created with the embassy to book your appointment. Yeah, so you might go on the when you're booking your appointment, you might find that dates are far-fetched. What you can do is like just pick whatever dates you get, and you can always go back to like see if there are earlier dates. And before you can book for that emergency interview dates that Hamida spoke about, you need to have already secured a date. So that is why it's advisable that whatever date you find on the portal, you just go ahead and book the date. So just in case you need to apply for the emergency appointment, you already have a date that enables you to do that. Yeah, so for the interview preparation and common questions, like I found the mock interviews very useful because they really helped me during my time. I felt like they made a lot of difference for me. I joined like a lot of mock interview pages on WhatsApp and Twitter, and I joined from different countries. I was joining people from Nigeria, people from Ghana, and just like getting a fair idea of how people answered these questions and hearing about like people's stories. Some people have gone and then they come back to talk about like how it was like for them. So like kind of like just getting more exposure to the kind of questions that they ask. And I think there's a trend to how I believe that there's a trend to how these questions should be answered, right? So these mock interviews would help you to get the trend, although it has to be like personalized, right? But there are certain informations that you have to make sure you add to these questions. And those mock interviews would like help give you more education on that. So you don't maybe like, give too little information or too much information. So they would basically just guide you. And these mock interview groups are for free. During my time, I didn't have to pay anything. So I join, I listen to other people go through the mock interviews, and then it gets to my turn. I also interview and get feedback from people. So it kind of like helps, it boosts your confidence basically. And um, as you do more mock interviews, you become very like confident in your explanations. You take certain things out based on feedbacks from people on the page. So some common questions are like, where are you going? What are your postgraduate plans? And for that question, I believe you have to really show ties to hometown. And then I mean, there are a lot of these questions out there, and you wouldn't know which questions you would be asked until you get there. But it's just important that you understand what you're about and what you're going to do. You understand your program, your school, and then your plans basically. So moving on to the interview day, I would recommend having a document checklist, because I've heard stories where people got to like the embassy, went in front of the visa officer and couldn't find their I-20 or couldn't find like a very key document that was really essential for the interview. So make a documents checklist, like write down every document you need to take with you, and then you cross them out as you like put them inside your transparent folder bag to make sure you don't forget anything. I remember doing this like multiple times before my interview because I really wanted to make sure I didn't leave any documents behind. And people have questions about how you should look. I mean, I don't really think they care about outfits, but that's something to consider also. Like, you just have to look smart. You don't have to do too extra. You don't have to go out of your way to like do too much in order to impress them. It's not really about how you dress, it's how you present yourself that matters, like how you explain the purpose of your visit to the embassy. Don't talk too fast and also don't talk too slow. I know like it's very common for most people to talk very fast when they're nervous. And in a situation like that, like I don't know, I thought I was very prepared during my time. I really, really prepared. And I thought I wouldn't feel nervous like during my interview. Also considering that I had full funding, I felt like, oh, I didn't have any problem, so there's nothing to be scared about. And I was the first person. But trust me, like it's going to hit. I don't know. I don't know if this happened to everybody, but you just get this anxiety, like the entire environment, like just the embassy itself, like just gives you a lot of like it just breaks your nerve system down completely. So you just have to like be really prepared, be really, really prepared, and also like pay attention and understand the question. Don't be in a haste to answer. Like if you don't hear something properly, like you can ask them politely to repeat it, because it would even be worse if they ask one question and then you answered something that wasn't asked. So it's very important to pay attention. Do not rush to answer. No chew and pour. If you try to chew and then you want to go and pour there, anxiety and fear would make you forget, and you might just be there, you're not able to say anything. So like just know what you're about, know your program, know it very well, and you'll be able to like talk about it as if you're having a conversation, right? I feel like it's more important to take the whole process as like a conversation with the visa officer than an interview, because then you'll be able to like speak smoothly and express yourself. But if you're trying to pour out something that you should, it's going to seem very, very unnatural, and that can affect the outcome of your interview. Another thing they make emphasis on is eye contact, ensuring you're maintaining eye contact and body language also. Like you want to like, stand still. You don't want to lean towards the counter. Like, just like ensure you have a good posture and like maintaining eye contact with the visa officer. There are several other like things that you can consider, and maybe my colleagues will talk about it as we move forward. So we have some special cases like people that have had like previous deniers, and they want to go back and be interviewed again. So something you want to consider is your story, like what happened in the first interview or the interview. Sorry about that. So what happened in your first interview? Like what happened, what went wrong, or what went right. They don't really tell you like why your visa is being denied, although they give you a letter, but it's a very generic reason. So during your new interview, they might ask you questions like why were you denied a visa? So you have to sit down and really think about it and come up with something that wouldn't spoil your chance of getting the visa this time. So the visa officer might ask you what has changed from the last time, if your situation was more like limited funding, or you weren't able to prove your capacity to sponsor your education. Maybe now you've gotten a program that is giving you like full funding, or like your deficit now is very low. So you should be able to explain to the visa officer about what has changed from the previous time that you were denied and what is better now. So some people have questions about so if I was denied in Ghana, should I go for the second time in Ghana, or should I go to another country? Would this affect my chances of getting approved if I go back to the embassy where I was denied? I don't really think this holds a lot of water. I don't think this really has an impact. Um it doesn't really change anything whether you go back to the country where you were denied, like to the embassy where you were denied, or you choose to go to another country. I just feel like most part of it is like based on your story and what has changed in your story. So like if you were denied in Ghana and there are no dates you're considering going to another country, but there are no dates there and there are dates available in Ghana, just go ahead and book with Ghana and try as much as you can to make sure that your story has changed for the better. And we also have like issues like people that have applied for DV lottery in the past. This is the personal situation for me because I went through this also. So I did apply for the DV lottery while I was in Ghana, right? I don't know if this F1 visa like officers also have access to that information, but it wasn't something I was thinking about at all. But then I have a friend who also applied for the DV lottery, and he went for his visa interview, and he was asked like, "Have you ever applied for an immigrant visa before, like the DV lottery?" And he had, but then he said no, and his visa was denied. So we weren't really sure if it was because of that, because he also didn't have like enough funding. I think he had like some 20% funding and this huge deficit that he had to pay. So we weren't really sure if that was related. So I was really scared because that was before my own interview and I'd already applied for DV lottery in the past. So I didn't know if that would affect me. So like, should I admit that I did? Because the issue here is that the F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa and the diversity lottery visa is um, the diversity lottery visa is an immigrant visa. So when you're going for your F1 visa, all you're trying to do is to convince the visa officer that, oh, after your studies, you're coming back to your home country, you're coming back to Ghana. You don't intend to stay here in the United States. And here is the case, you have a history of applying for an immigrant visa. So there's kind of a question to your intention. Are you really going to study to come back to your home country, or you just want to relocate to the United States? But I don't really know. I don't know if anybody here has like an answer for that. If the DV lottery, if the F1 visa officers have access to DV lottery like data as to people that have. But my advice would be that if you know you want to like travel to the United States through like F1, through the student route, just I think you should hold on with anything related to this DV lottery application thing. Like, don't go for it yet. To just be on the safe side. Once you get here, you can always apply for it while you're here. So if the education route is something you're really considering, just stay away from this DV lottery thing. But Alhamdulillah, I went for my interview. Nothing about the diversity lottery came up, and I got my visa approved. And the same guy went again the second time, but this time he had like a good funding. He had a different school had full funding, and then he went back the same embassy, Accra, and was approved. And he wasn't asked anything about the DV lottery. So I don't really know, but just to stay, it's better to be safe than sorry. So just stay away from the DV lottery thing if you're really considering the education route to study abroad. So I don't know if anybody has any other special cases they want to talk about, but some resources that really helped me during my time, um, I would say it's YouTube. I was really watching a lot of YouTube channels, specifically Grad School Cafe, The Fred Effect, Beats, Lamad Education, and Aladiako. Like these YouTube channels were very, very helpful, and they really like go through like they give detailed explanation of what the process is like, how to fill your DX160 form. Beats Lamad has like a video on how step-by-step process on how to fill the DS160 form, how to create an account with the embassy, how to schedule for appointment dates. Other resources are the WhatsApp mock interviews, as I mentioned, and then date hunting pages. Because if you want to stay on your own and be looking for dates, you might not have time to always go on the portal to see if there are dates available. But if you're in these WhatsApp dates hunt pages, right, like somebody, like people go there. In some of the pages, like we even have, like we took turns on checking on the portal to see if there is dates, right? So somebody might go and see dates and put it on the WhatsApp page, oh, there are dates, and then would rush and go like see what is there and then pick it. So just on your own, you might miss a date might come out and you miss it. But if you have like these WhatsApp groups where they hunt for dates, you get these informations even faster because then you're doing it with a lot of people. And also Telegram was also very important. Like don't limit yourself to like just Nigerian pages, to just Ghanaian pages. Like join Nigerian pages, like informations, you find informations everywhere, regardless of the country or geographical location. Yeah, Twitter was also like very important as well. I think Twitter would give you like some people take their time to post out very relevant information on Twitter, including like schools that offer application fee waiver, where you just have to apply and you don't have to pay application fee at all. So like all these informations you find on the so you just have to take your time and do your homework. Like one thing about this journey is that it's not easy. Like it requires your time and commitment. So if you're waiting for somebody to do it for you, or you feel like you can't really put in the work, then I think it's not for you. But yeah, if you can really sit down, take your time, and go through these resources, watch YouTube videos, ask questions, and go through the process, then you can definitely be able to survive what comes after you get to the United States, because it gets tougher when you get here. So like this is just like a peak of it. So once you're able to stand this, then it means you can do better once you arrive to this place. So this is all I have. I would let Elsie talk, and then we can have like a question and answer section.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Samira. Before Elsie, takes over, I think we have barely 3 minutes for this session, so I probably might want to, cut it short and then get it back on again. So guys, let's get back in about a minute or two, the same link, and Elsie will take over. And after Elsie, there's gonna be an open session where you guys will just come in and ask Samira, Hamida, and Elsie, questions. Hopefully they can be of help. As I mentioned, earlier, I'm from Canada, so I know nothing about the US system. I'm happy that the three of them did volunteer their time today to assist with. And I also realized that Prince is also sending out some details on the chat. Prince, if you would like to also, get involved in today's discussion, let me know. Hopefully when we come back in about a minute time, you can also be part of the conversation. Thank you very much, everyone. Let's join in about a minute time again, and hopefully Elsie would walk us through what she has. Thanks.